Hakadosh Boker or Masechet Nedarim Daf Gimel Amud Aleph 13a1 says the Gemara. If you remember, we were talking about that a person had the two different meats in front of him. Elalav, but rather the machid basar bechor umachid basar deach kabeh. That you had in front of you a piece of meat of the bechor, right after the zrikat damim, okay, and you had a piece of meat, right, another piece of meat. We were actually at a pidyon bechor etmol balayla, so it's mamash tov. Ve'amar, and we said like this. So he comes and he says, "Ze kazeh." This meat, which is the regular meat, is going to be like the bechor meat. V'tanai, and it's a machloket tanaim. What does that mean? It's a machloket tanaim. Do we say that it's going to be matpis? It's going to be grabbed on the fact that it's a bechor like right now, and right now after matan damim, after sprinkling the blood, you're allowed to eat it. Or do we say that it goes at batami ikara? You remember we kept on going for a few dapim already? When a person comes and he says, this is like basar shlamim after zrikat damim. This is like the meat of a shlamim after the sprinkling of the blood. So now technically speaking, after you already sprinkle the blood, you're allowed to eat from the korban shlamim. It's not like an olah, that even after matan damim, that even after sprinkling the blood, you're never allowed to eat an olah, because the olah is completely consumed. But rather, so here we had a question, do you go after the main statement, which is basically this is like a basar shlamim, and therefore it's going to be asur, or do you go after right now? Right now, it's mutar, it's after matan damim. So we had the same thing, and we say here, it's a machloket tanaim, that according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's going to be mutar. Why? Because according to him, it's like right now, right? But according to Rabbi Yaakov, it's going to be asur. So that's what we want to say. It's a machloket tanaim. Answers the Gemara, lo, incorrect. Dechule alma, according to everybody, right? We're talking about lifnei zrikat damim. We're talking about areb basar ze alai kebechor shelo nizreku damav. This meat is like meat for me, like a bechor, which was not sprinkled the blood. So 1 second. If it's before sprinkling the blood, nobody's allowed to eat it. So what's the reasoning then that you would actually even permit it? Amar Kra, the pasuk says, Ish ki idor neder la Hashem lo yachel devaro. Why does it say idor neder? Idor neder is superfluous. It's extra, right? Why? It's repetitive. Why is it repetition? Idor neder. When a person's going to make a vow makes a vow. Why does he say that? So he says, Ad shidor bedavar hanadur. It has to be that it's only going to be when he makes a neder on something which is asur mikuach haneder la puke bechor deha davar asur hu. This comes to exclude a bechor that already it's asur because of the kiddusha of itself. It's not asur of anything else. You remember we spoke about this in the past, of the concept of any sur chalali sur or things like that, which means if something's already asur, I don't need you to grab onto another one. Lavdil elef avdalot, right? The non-Jewish courts, they come and they say that you could add counts. So you have one count of this, plus another count of that, and another count of this, and another count. And according to the counts, you keep on adding on to the sentence. For us, right, even though there's the gravity of the sin, right? So obviously we do hold of a concept of kimle b'derabba mineh, which means that we do give the stricter punishment. That yes, but usually any sur chal isur, meaning one isur is not chal another isur unless they're individual isurim that are not connected to each other. So for example, a person is going to eat on Kippur, and by eating on Kippur, he's going to eat something else, like, one kazait of this, and then he did this and that. So certain times, if each one is a different shem, a different name, so then you could be chayav on each one, an entity on its own. But usually, if you're doing the same concept, right? I'm not allowed to eat the bechor. We're not allowed to eat the bechor. But anyway, it's already holy. It's kiddusha. It's called kiddusha. I'm not allowed to eat it. It's before matan damim. So if I make now a neder, I'm not going to eat the bechor. What did I do? I just made a neder. I'm not going to eat something that I'm not allowed to eat anyway. So what did I do? I didn't do anything. So therefore, right, that's why he comes and he says it's going to be permitted, which means that the neder is not chal. Okay? Because the neder is not going to be chal on something which is already prohibited. Says the Gemara, uman asar. So what's the opinion then of the one that prohibits it? So he says, Amar Kra, it says in the pasuk, neder la Hashem, because it says kidor neder, which is the double language. But then he says La Hashem. What does La Hashem come to include? Lerabot bedavar asur. When he comes and he says that it says the word La Hashem, it's coming to include that even though it was already prohibited, right, because of the asur, right, it was already prohibited, it's still going to be asur. So it says the Gemara Mandeshani, and according to the Mandamad, which is going to be that it's going to be permitted. La Hashem mayavile. What's he going to do with the word La Hashem? Right, one more time. The first opinion said that since it says double language, Yidor Neder, it has to be something which is Asur Mitzad the Neder, and not something which is Asur Mitzad Mashu Acher. Not something which is already prohibited Mitzad something else. Then we said, okay, fine. So what's the other opinion? It says, no, it says La Hashem. When it says La Hashem, it comes to include that even though it was already prohibited to Hashem, it's still going to be Chal the Neder. So says the Gemara, so work backwards then. What about the one that permits? What does he do with the word La Hashem? So he says, Uman de Shari La Hashem Ayavilei. Says the Gemara, he needs it lematpis bechatat ve'asham, to add on to a chatat and asham that it's going to be the neder Hechal, right? What does that mean? He says the chatat and asham come for a certain avirah. So without this limud, right, I would have thought that it's only going to be when you have a chovah to bring it, but not as a nidava. So because of that, it's coming even with something which is going to be davar nadur, right? And you could still grab it. So that's what he's coming to say. He's saying La Hashem is coming to include a chatat ve'asham. That means if a person comes and he says, this is like an achatat, or this is like an asham, the neder is going to be chal. Because since you learn it from the pasuk that mapis right bechatat ve'asham is chal, so then you don't need to know anymore about the bechor, because I already know, right, about it. Okay? Why is it that you're specifically coming and saying that from the word Lashem, you want to add in the chatat and asham, that the neder is chal, ulotzi et bechor, and therefore you want to take out the bechor, that the neder is not chal? Maybe the opposite. Maybe Lashem comes to include the bechor, that the bechor is chal, and it comes to exclude the chatat and asham, that the chatat and asham is not chal. So answers the Gemara, marbe ani chatat ve'asham shu matpis beneder, right? Umosi ani et bechor shu kadosh mimeimo. There's a big difference between a chatat and asham and a bechor. A bechor is holy from the womb of its mother. We just said that last night in the Pidyon Ben. From the womb of the mother, this bechor is holy. A chatat and asham is not holy from the womb of the mother. A chatat and asham is a regular animal. And then all of a sudden I come and I decide this animal is a chatat or this animal is an asham. But it's not kadosh mimeimo. It's not holy in the womb and the uterus of its mother. So therefore he comes and he says like this. I prefer to add in a chatat and asham, which becomes through a neder, which means that a person could come and can sanctify it through a chovav, a neder. And I'm not going to bring a bechor, which is kadosh mimeimo. Which means that even though the owners have to come and they have to be magdish b'peh, they have to actually say it, and he's not allowed to, but he's not allowed to switch it with another animal, right? V'chule v'chule. But at the end of the day, chatat ve'asham, right? He could come and he could get any animal, right? Because by a bechor, right? A bechor also, right? Is obviously, yeah. So therefore, it's going to be uman de'asar, but according to the one that's going to make it that it's going to be asur, bechor nami matpiso benederu. Says 1 second, but the bechor also has to be something with a made with a neder. Tana was learned to write. Mishum Rabbi Omru. Mishum Rabbi said, how do we know that even though there was a bechor that was born to your property, there's a mitzvah you have to sanctify him? What does it mean hazachar takdish? You have to come, right? That you have to actually come and be magdish et zeh, which means that is davar andu. Which means even though you're right, it's kadosh mimeimo, you still have to be magdish et zeh. You still have to come and you have to do it with your mouth. Right? And that's why you have to actually say something. You do something. Right? So says the Gemara. So fine. So according to that, right? Uman deshari kilo magdish le milo migdash. 1 second. Well, what was the other opinion? One more time. We just said that we wanted to say what's the reasoning why we're taking out the chatat and asham, right? And sorry, we're taking out the bechor and putting in the chatat and asham. So chatat and asham comes through a neder. Right? The bechor is kadosh mimeimo. It doesn't need a neder. So says the Gemara, what are you talking about? There's still a concept of making a neder, of making it holy, but it says it's zachar takdish. So answers the Gemara, man deshari, but according to the man Aman, which is of Yehuda, that he says that it's going to be permitted, kilo magdish, even if you didn't come and make it holy with your mouth, milo migdash, it's not going to become holy. For sure it does. Meaning that it's only like a mitzvah to come to be magdish with your mouth. But even without it, it's already going to be there. So because of that, that's what he says. Right? That it's still going to be okay. Fine. The two dots. The two dots now says ki'imra or kadirim. If a person comes and he says that this is going to be like a sheep, or it's going to be like the animals which are brought in the hens or in the places where the cattle are, in the deed, right? Or for example, like the wood for the mizbeach, or the fire in the mizbeach, or like the mizbeach, or like the Hechal, or like Yerushalayim, right? Or all these things. Even though he didn't mention the name korban, it's like a korban. So Tana, we learned in the Braita, imra or leimra or ki imra. or dirim la dirim ka dirim, etzim la etzim ka etzim, ishim la ishim ka ishim, mizbeach la mizbeach ka mizbeach, hechal la hechal ka hechal, Yerushalayim li Yerushalayim ki Yerushalayim, kulan shochal lecha asur. In all these cases, if he finished and he said, right, that basically that I'm going to eat it, so therefore it's going to be prohibited, right? But if he says lo ochal lecha, that I'm not going to eat it, then it's going to be mutar, right, to come to eat it, which means that here basically he was saying the reason why is because when he says lo ochal lecha, it's mashma that that which I'm not going to eat from you should be an imra, but what I eat from you is not going to be imra, so that's permitted. So basically what he was trying to say is that even though he didn't say only just sheep, which is imra, he said la imra, le imra, right, or ke imra, right? So therefore it's like it or right to it. It's all the same terminology. Meaning even though I added on a prefix, it's called in English, right? Which means I added on one of the letters beforehand. It's still going to be okay. So mandishamin le de lo shani le imra ki imra. So who was the Tana that said that we don't make a difference between imra le imra ki imra and all of them it's chala neder? B'mirhi. It's going to be Rabbi. That means Rabbi is the one that says that any terminology that you used here is going to be the same. Because many times, that means this just shows you the specificness of how important it is, the exact lashon of the neder. And some people go say, he just said it. No. What did you say? I want to know word by word, because one little letter could change everything. So who's the one that says this? He says it's Rabbi Meir. Ema Seifa. Let's see the Seifa. The Seifa comes and it says, "Vechulan lo ochal lecha," and all of them, if I'm not going to eat from it. So he comes and he says, it's going to be mutar. That's now we learned in the Mishnah, la korban lo ochal lecha. Rabbi Meir said, Rabbi Meir says that it's going to be asur. The Amar Rabbi Abba and says, Rabbi Abba naasa keomer le korban yeh. It's like a person that comes and he says that this should be like a korban lefichach lo ochal lecha, and therefore, right, I'm not going to eat from it. So therefore, in the case of the Braita, if I'm going to come and I'm going to say le'imna that I'm not going to eat from it, so what we're going to say that it's going to be compared to ki'ilu, that the food should be that I'm not going to eat, and therefore it's going to be chal neder. So says the Gemara, la kasha, it's not a question. Had amar la imra, had amar le imra. When you say la, remember la is like lo, right? No, lo ochal lecha. So therefore, in such a case, it's saying it's like it's becoming a korban, and therefore you're not allowed to eat it. But if you just said le imra lo ochal lecha, it's like saying la imra lo ochal lecha, which means it's not like a negative, but rather it's not going to be chal, because again, according to Rabbi Meir, he doesn't hold the lava tashomeahem. You remember we brought this already. Because according to Rabbi Meir, he doesn't hold that from the negative you learn the positive. He doesn't hold of that. So therefore, when he comes and he says leimna shelo chalecha chala neder, according to Rabbi Meir, and just like we just said, it's like a person said leimna yema chalecha, and therefore you're not allowed to eat from him. Says the Mishnah. Okay, Mishnah Yud Gimel Amud Aleph towards the bottom. Says the Mishnah, Haomer Korban, right? Or he says, Ola, Mincha, Hata, Toda, Shelamim, Shani Ochelecha, Asur. So here he actually explained which Korban. And he didn't only just say Korban. He said, Anola, Mincha, Hata, Toda, Shelamim. So a burnt offering, a meal offering, sin offering, a thanksgiving offering, or a peace offering, Shani Ochelecha, that I'm going to eat from you. It's going to be Asur. Right? Why? That means even though he didn't say Ke Korban, like a kaf with kaf adimayon, that it's like this one, it's still going to be asur. Okay? Rabbi Yehuda Matir, Rabbi Yehuda says it's going to be permitted. Why? Because when a person comes and he says, Ola, right? She'ani ochel lecha, he didn't say it's like an Ola. He just says Ola. So it doesn't work. That's the Shita of Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Mishnah, Ha Korban, Ke Korban, Korban. If a person says like the Korban, like the Korban or Korban, Shochalecha, it's going to be asur. Right? Why? Because the mashmaut is that whatever he's going to eat is going to be like a korban. But if you say la korban lo ochel lecha, Rabbi Meir says it's going to be asur. So according to Rabbi Meir, even la korban is going to be asur, because before he said ha korban, ke korban, korban, but we didn't mention about la korban. So now we're saying la korban is also going to be asur according to Shitat Rabbi Meir. Says the Gemara on the bottom of 13a1 or 13a. Okay, Ketani. We learned in the Mishnah, Ha Korban, Ke Korban, Korban she'ochal lecha, asur. Stama Tana Rabbi Meir. So obviously our Mishnah is like Rabbi Meir. The loshani leben imra leimra. There's no difference between imra or leimra, which means even without the extra letters, it's all the same thing. And once it's the same thing, according to Shita Rabbi Meir, that's it. It's going to be chal. Right now, 1 second. Ikar Rabbi Meir haditani Korban she'ochal lecha asur. That Tanya. 1 second, but how did you say that it's going to be like Rabbi Meir? So why do we just say that ha-korban she'ochal lecha, it's going to be asur? V'atanya modim chachamim leRabbi Yehuda, that Rabbi Meir, that he says he's going to be modeh to Rabbi Yehuda, that if he says ha-korban or ha-olah or ha-mincha or ha-chatat, she'ochal lecha, it's going to be mutar. Shelo nadar zela b'chaya korban. Because he only made the neder in the lifetime of the korban. So therefore it's like a stira to the Mishnah of ha-korban. What's going on exactly? Which means he's not saying the neder on the korban, he's swearing in the life of the animal, which is mukdash to the korban. Ha-korban she'ochal lecha means it's a shevuah in the lifetime of this korban that I'm going to eat, which means that it's nothing. It's like a shevuah in the chaye korban, which is not chal. So therefore, according to that, it's a stira. How can you tell me that it's Rabbi Meir? It's not Rabbi Meir. Right? So you Gimel Amud Bet says, La Kashia, 13b. La Kashia. La Kashia, it's not a question. Ha de Amar ha korban, ve ha de Amar ha korban. You understand the difference? Yeah. One is ha korban, two different words. One of them is the korban, one word, ha korban. Right, like habayit. What are the? So what is it? No. So ha korban. When you say two different words, right? So therefore, that's when he said that he agreed to him. When you say ha korban is one word, so therefore davar zeh ke korban. When you say the korban with one word, it means that this is like a korban. When you're saying it two different words, it's b'chaye korban. My ta'ama, what's the reasoning? Chaye korban kaman. Because the kavanah is a shavua. In the chayyar korban, shvei b'chayyar korban is nothing. Okay, but if a person comes and he says ha korban in two words, it's like behold korban ani nishba, right? But when you say ha korban with one word, it's only a neder that it should be like a korban. It's right. It's two completely different things. So you see that even if you say it in one word or two different words, it changes everything. So Katani, we did learn in the Mishnah la korban lo chalecha. Rabbi Meir says it's going to be a sur. One second. When you come and you say la korban, like a korban. Right? What does that mean? La korban lo chalecha, which means that that which I'm not going to eat from you is going to be is not going to be like a korban, right? But that's double negative. Rabbi Meir does not hold from niklav atashomeahin. When you say la korban lo chalecha, that what I eat from you is not going to be like a korban. Mashma, that whatever I eat from you is going to be like a korban. But that's lav atashomeahin. That's from the negative. You learn the positive. Rabbi Meir doesn't hold of that. So why do we say that according to Rabbi Meir it's going to be asur? So Rabbi Abba comes and he answers, Naasa keomer, it becomes like he said, Lekorban yehe, comma, which means that this should be like a korban, meaning your food should be like a korban, lefichach lo ochalecha, and therefore I cannot eat from you. Which means you're putting a comma. When you're putting a comma, it changes everything. Remember that the commas, right, in your words, change everything that you're saying. Everything, right, on how you're speaking and what you're saying, not saying, right? Incredible stuff. For example, I'll give you one example that happens all the times, right? That a lot of people are me'aratzot. They don't even know, right? I come and ask them, right? We come and we say, "Ladish liyotzera menachat ruach besafa v'rura v'nima kedusha kulan ke'echad oni me'ema v'omrim bira." Where's the comma? Where's the comma? One more time. Ladish liyotzera menachat ruach besafa v'rura v'nima kedusha kulan ke'echad oni me'ema v'omrim bira. Where's the comma? After kedusha. After Kedosha. So very good. So listen carefully. Right? David is correct. Listen carefully. There was the Rambam and Rabbi David Budraham, and that was a minhag of Morocco, to do it after Kedosha. Edot HaMizrach, they do it before Kedosha, and therefore they say Kedusha. Now what's the difference? So listen how one comma changes everything. Right? Listen. Lagdish yotzera menachat ruach. Besafa verura, with a clear safa, with a clear voice, a clear, right? Uvinima kedosha, and with a holy pleasantness. That is uvinima kedosha, comma. Kulam keechad onim be'ema v'omrim mida. All everybody together, they're coming and they're saying with fear, kadosh, 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 which means kedosha is not a noun. It's a pronoun, an adjective. It's explaining. Right? Uvinima, nima kedosha, comma. However, though, the Edot HaMizrach, they don't do like the Rambam and the Viduraham. They do like this, yotzera menachat ruach besafa v'rura uvinima, comma, which means that they're saying it, benima and everything. They're doing now a kedusha. Kedusha is now a noun. Kedusha, They are doing the kiddusha, everybody together. And what is the kiddusha? Kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. You see that the difference of the comma changes the entire explanation of what you're saying.
And the dagesh.
The dagesh, it changes the vowels, it changes everything. It changes the meaning. It changes, yeah. So the kiddusha or kiddusha. We say kiddusha, comma. No, that's a Rambam. Rambam was Rabbi David Abudaham. Mishnah on your Gimel Amud Bet says the Mishnah. Somebody's going to come and he's going to say to his friend, "Kunam pi medaberi mecha, yadai osai mecha, or ragli ma'alechet mecha asud." If somebody comes and he tells his friends that kunam pi medaberi mecha, that he's not going to speak to him, the Gemara is going to explain if the neder is going to be chal or not, or pi diburo, or yadai, kunam yadai, what he's doing with his hands, meaning his parnasa, or raglai that he's going to walk with him is going to be asud. Says the Gemara, meaning we have a contradiction. Chomer b'shvua nedarim, the chumra of shavuot more than a neder, and the nedarim of shavuot, chomer nedarim chalim al mitzvah reshut. A neder is going to be chal on the mitzvah, just like on the reshut, which means a neder is going to be chal also on a chefetz, which is going to be for doing a mitzvah, right? Just like it's going to be chal on the reshut. Mashenken b'shavuot, a person cannot do a shavua levatel mitzvah. Meaning you can make a neder on a mitzvah, but you cannot make a shavua against the mitzvah. The chomer shebashavua, but the chomer shavuot on the shavuot is chal also the vashish b'mashut. B'shem b'mashut. Shavua could be on something which has tangible, or is on something which is not tangible. Mashenkin and neder has to be something tangible. It has to be something there. So therefore, we're going to come and we're going to say that if you're going to come and tell me now that the peulav, the yadayim, and the alicha, they don't have mamashut. So how's it going to be chal and neder? It cannot be a chal and neder. It could be a shavua, but not a neder. So Rav Yudah says, Beomer, he said, Ya'aser pi lediburi. My mouth should be prohibited my mouth should be for my speech, or yadai lemaasehem, or raglai liluchan. Because here it does have mamashut, meaning the mouth is something tangible. The speech is not. The walking maybe is not tangible, but my feet are, right? The hands is something tangible, but whatever you make from it is not. So in all these things, you're actually putting it to something tangible, and therefore it's going to be okay. So it says, we can also learn the deuces, pi medaberi mecha, the mouth which is speaking to you, but not just that I am speaking to you. And therefore, again, it's something tangible, the verse is going to be chal. Hadran alach kol kinuyeh. We just finished the first chapter of kol kinuyeh. We're going to start now the second chapter. Perek sheni of Nedarim. Gimel Amubet says the second chapter. Okay, the first chapter we were speaking about the lashonot of Nedarim. Now we're going to speak about a neder which does not prohibit. So now a person comes and he says, right, like this. A person says, this bread is going to be a surah alai. Or he says, ke korban, right? Ve'elu mutarim, right? And these are the nidarim which are going to be mutarim. Chulin she'ochal lecha. A person comes and he says, chulin, this is going to be chulin, that which I eat from you. So it's mashma that whatever I'm going to eat is going to be chulin, so therefore it's permitted. Or ki basar chazir. Imagine right now a person comes and he says, whatever this is, it's like basar chazir that I'm going to eat. So it's mashma, that which I eat from you should be a asur to me like a chazir, which is prohibited from the Torah. It's going to be permitted, right? Why? So he says because it has to be in something which is mechamat neder asur. So when he comes and he says ma she'ochel etzecha is going to be like a korban has a sur, right? But this is going to be something which the Torah was oseh. It's not a neder. Okay, it has to be something which is going to be a sur, not because of the Torah, but rather davar nadur. We all just learned this before, which means that if you're going to make it, for example, we just spoke about the bechor. No, because we just said that it should be like a bechor. Remember, we said that according to the number that a bechor anyway is already a sur. It's not going to be chal. Because a neder cannot be chal on this, right? So he comes and he says, "Kavodat kochavim." What does it mean like kavodat kochavim? Keorot levuvim. What does it mean keorot levuvim? Kenevelot utrefot, like nevelot utrefot, or like shkatzim uramatzim, or like shkatzim uramasim. Kechalat Aaron uktumato, or like the chalav Aaron and like the tuma. Mutar. In all these cases, it's going to be permitted. Why is it going to be permitted in all these cases? Because again, you're doing something which is already going to be a sur from the Torah. And once it's going to be a sur from the Torah, it's not going to be chal neder, and it's going to be mutar. Explain it. Because once we say that it's going to be prohibited, something which is already prohibited from the Torah, you have to make a neder on something which is permitted from the Torah, and you prohibited it because of a neder. Whether you said it's a sur to me, or you said it's like a korban. But if it was already a sur min Torah, so the neder is not chal, because that's what we said. Kidor neder lashem has to be something davar anadur, something which could fall a neder onto it. So he said basar chazir, meat of a pig, is anyway always prohibited. Avodat kochavim, always prohibited. Orot levuvin, orot lev, comes from levuvin, lev. The orot, the skin of an animal by the heart, when they tore out the heart in order to bring it for avodah zarah, so therefore it's prohibited. Or nevelot utrufot, it's a sumin Torah. Shkatzim or masim. Nevelot utrufot just means basically an animal which was not kosher or an animal which died without shechita. That's a nevelah. Right? A trefa is that it's not kosher because it's going to die within the year. Shkatzim or masim is different creepy crawlers. Chalat aron is like a frashat chala from the yisa, that you're separating the chala from the dough. Trumato is like the truma that you separate. So in all these cases, since it's a sur from the Torah, so therefore it's going to be mutar. You don't have to do anything, right? So therefore, even if the noder was an ama'aretz, we're not going to come and tell him, you have to do a tarat nedarim. You don't have to do anything. Why? It was prohibited anyway. The neder is not chal. Remember, the neder, for it to be chal, it has to be chal in two ways. Either you say this is a sur to me, not because of the Torah. This is tea.
It could
I
be,
come and I say this is a sur to me. Ani mekabel ze ki sur. Number one. Or this is like a korban. But if I say this is like pig anyway is a sur. So therefore it's not a sur. I'm allowed to drink the tea. Bon appetit. So lirvaya. You understand? So this is a concept by all these different cases. Okay? I'll tell you. Therefore you don't have to do a tarat nedarim. This. A person comes and he tells his wife, Hareat alai ki'ima. Right? What does that mean? That the relations with you is like his mother. Now, obviously, you're not allowed to live with your mother. So therefore he comes and he says, the relations with you is like the mother. So here, we don't tell the ama'aretz that it's permitted. Because again, is it prohibited to live with the mother? Prohibited in the Torah. So for technically, the neder is no chal. But in this case, we're not going to tell the ama'aretz, listen, your neder is no chal, do whatever you want. No. Here, purposely, we're going to be poteach lo petach. We're going to be machmir on him to need atarat nedarim, right? And when we're going to do, we're going to try to do it with a pet mimakom acher. We're going to try to need it like a chumrah that you need to open up with an entrance from somewhere else. Shelo yakel rosho bekach, because we don't want him to start being mizalzel and nedarim. But if we're going to come and we're going to permit him without, so therefore he's just going to come and he's going to start doing all these nedarim, right, without any problem. So now the question is, they only prohibited in this case from his wife because there it's a neder matsui. Meaning if a person is going to come and he's going to say, you know what, this tea is going to be like pig. Why would a guy do that? It doesn't really make sense. So, okay. But if a person gets upset with his wife and he says, you know what, now you're permitted to me like my mother. So a person getting upset at his wife could happen. You understand? It could happen a little bit more. So because of that, yes. So therefore, because of that, since it's more common, in this case, to do the nedarim of the wife, they didn't want to be mizalzel min nedarim. They prohibited. Meaning, even though technically speaking, the neder is not chal. It's exact same halacha like we mentioned before with the pig. Exactly. Here he had to do nedarim. Why? Because it's more common. Meaning to do with the nedarim against the wife was more common, so therefore they had to do it. So says the Gemara, it's only because he said that chulin. Again, we're going back to the first case of the Mishnah. He says the chulin, that whatever I'm going to eat from you is chulin. But if he said la chulin shochalecha, which mashma, it's not going to be chulin, right? But it's rather going to be a korban. So then it's going to be a sur. Mani matznitin. So who's our Mishnah? It cannot be Rabbi Meir, because we just said that according to Rabbi Meir, halet lemiklal lava tashmeahen. I thought you said that we cannot learn the negative becomes a positive. But rather, El Rabbi Yehuda, but rather it has to be like Rabbi Yehuda. But then that's Hainu Reisha, but then that's Reisha then. That's the Mishnah in the last perek. The Mishnah in the last perek on Yoda Mubet, that was also. So why do we have to say it again? Again, we're going to say Rabbi Yehuda. So obviously tomorrow we'll continue explaining each one.